This is the first video that I've specifically made to answer comment questions from previously created videos. The questions come from Twofer Drawson 120, and the first part of his question was, is there neutral mode for downhill? And that is specifically referencing the new MBS Agent electric mountain board. And the video that I produced was focused on an uphill riding section of last weekend's ride. So to answer the question, yes, there is a neutral mode, and according to the manual, it's called the N gear. And this gear automatically activates after 5 seconds of no forward throttle spin. So if you're riding downhill and you're basically coasting, not throttling or braking for 5 consecutive seconds, then it automatically engages into this neutral gear. So I personally felt that, last weekend's ride, the steeper sections of the hill, I would just let off the throttle and the board would definitely just coast down the sections as I felt comfortable with the speed. There may have been times in steeper sections where I would back on the wheel throttle for braking, and that would be going back like this. And then of course, that would disengage the neutral gear. One of the problems, it's probably a minor issue, is the transition from going in neutral gear on a downhill section and engaging in the throttle. So there is a bit of lag where the acceleration of the motors needs to catch up to the speed of the wheels in neutral gear. And depending on how much throttle you're giving it, it often will be a jerking motion once the power engages. And so I need to anticipate that. I think through more practice of riding and getting used to the board and the remote, that I'll either need to lean forward and anticipate that engagement throttle, or be a little more controlled on feathering the throttle. More likely, the throttle is very sensitive. I think it would probably be best to lean forward during that point and just anticipate the minor acceleration movement. So the remote manual also states that the N gear can be manually activated by pressing the unlock trigger, and that's the button right here. It's like the trigger button. You press that twice while pulling back on the throttle wheel. So press that twice. So I haven't tried that, but that's what the manual states. I like the fact that it will just automatically go into that neutral mode when you're not throttling or braking for 5 consecutive seconds. So I think that's an awesome mode. But this question about the neutral gear made me think really about a interview I had a while back with the Dirt podcast. And in that interview, Dan had asked me, referencing my older electric mountain board, if when the battery drains and it's no longer powered, will the board roll on its own, like basically be in a neutral mode? Definitely with my old electric mountain board, the answer was no, it would not. When it was powered off, it could not descent freely, or the wheels would not roll without the resistance of being attached to that gear system. So I thought about that a little bit. I think for expert riders, that would be a cool option if, when the battery drained or the power was off, that the board would roll freely downhill. As I was considering this more, I could see the safety issue being maybe for beginners, lesser experienced riders, especially that haven't gained the skills of acoustic mountain boarding, that controlling your speed and especially stopping with power slides is, would be much more difficult on a board that weighs 45 plus pounds compared to maybe the average weight of 14 plus pounds on a non-electric motorized mountain board. So those are just some thoughts. But these were great questions. So on to question number 2. Does the board brake well enough for doing single track? And I've only had the board for a little over a month. I've done kind of limited riding based on the seasonal weather and trail conditions. Most of the trails I ride tend to at least start out a little wider, but most trails at some point do narrow down and have single track segments. So the braking worked amazing on this board, especially down the steepest sections. I braked relatively good. I was able to slow my speed down, and it was very smooth but powerful braking. And I didn't come to a complete stop, but I felt that the braking system, even on the steeper section of the trail, I would be able to come to a complete stop. It was working very well. So I do need to do more testing. There is 9 different braking modes that you can adjust based on the remote. So 1 through 9 are the braking options, and I've only been riding it on the default braking system. So I don't know which number 1 through 9 the default braking mode is, but it's working great, better than my old electric mountain board. So at this point, I don't see any need in changing its current default mode. But it'll be interesting, and it's pretty simple. There's 3 steps that you can go through and then cycle through the brake mode. So the remote manual is pretty clear, and looks like it'd be a simple process. So I did want to thank Deferred Drosselin 120, or is it Top Her Drosselin 120? Not sure, but wanted to shout out another thanks for awesome questions, and just wanted to also thank everyone that watches the videos, that likes, comments, and subscribes to my channel. So thanks again, and now go ride.